recently we were given our top 5 producers, and something interesting happened recently. So Jermaine Dupri just
Okay.
challenged Diddy to a versus battle, which I think would be good. I think
Jermaine
that,
Dupri, Diddy.
yeah.
Okay.
But Diddy, his response was, I didn't expect his response. So his response was, um, "You don't have enough hits
Oh,
to get in a versus battle ring with me." I'm looking at maybe a Dr. Dre or someone on that level. And I was and that. So what do you think about? I mean, what do you think about that?
um, I think,
That's pretty bold.
I think so. Diddy's thinking, look, I'm a billionaire and I need to match another billionaire. So that's why he's saying Dre and
Valid.
Diddy. And I think it's less about less about the hits, but more so like, this is the event itself. Dre and Diddy would be,
Right.
a massive event. Um, I think someone like Jermaine Dupri, probably if he's going doing a versus battle, should probably be looking at um, even Trackmasters. I think they're probably a lot more consistent and a lot more hits. If they were to come out with a top 20, I think they would they because if you think of Jermaine, he's got Mariah, he's got Usher, he's got Escape and Drew Hill, he's got the remixes, the Brat. So he's got a stable of artists that he's worked with. Um, but I think when you're looking and comparing, I think Diddy was more than just the producer, and I think in that kind of verses, he
Right.
would be looking at what his impact he had on music, with the whole, with
Right. The
Biggie,
influence and
the
everything.
influence,
Yeah.
and he had on with Mary up from Uptown and Bad Boy, and that's and what did you
And the
make?
and I was also just thinking, just too, at the same time too, there was a beef, the East Coast West Coast
And
beef
yeah,
that was
yeah, that
born
whole,
of
yeah,
the
that,
Death
yeah,
Row
yeah,
and Bad
yeah,
Boy
you're
thing.
right,
So
yeah,
he's thinking on another level. That's why
yeah,
I know a lot of people wondering, why did I put Diddy as one of my favorite producers of all time. It's so many layers to it. He's just a
yeah,
marketing genius.
yeah, and
But
I
I feel
think,
like Jermaine
yeah,
Dupri, he has some, even though we meant, you mentioned Mariah Carey and Usher, but those are significant hits. Like those were major hits. And Diddy, he had a lot of consistency in the 90s. Um, but the major hits that broke records, like um We Belong Together and Always Be My Baby and the Usher songs, it's like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look over that
yeah,
resume.
no,
I get what
but
you're saying. It's
yeah, but
unevenly
I think
backed a little bit.
I think some of the earlier versus battles were nicely placed. So they were, Fat Joe and Ja Rule. Ja
Yeah,
Rule had probably more commercial hits.
right.
With Ashanti and the Murder Inc., he was more commercially known than Fat Joe. But maybe on the streets and in New York, Fat Joe probably was probably had, a little bit more say. I don't know. I'm not a big hip
Right.
hop
You're not
person,
into, yeah.
but I knew commercially, if you wanted to ask me commercially who had more top 10 Billboard hits, I would say Ja Rule did, and he was no more. But so that kind of battle was well placed. I think if you were to do a versus with Diddy, I can see how that could seem insulting. Like Diddy's like Jermaine,
Right.
that's just like, because Jermaine started as a kid, and so he still looks like the kid. I think Trackmasters did challenge Jermaine, and he wasn't too keen on that battle.
Mm.
Maybe because he realized that they really do have some big
Yeah.
hands and stuff. Um, so I can imagine. I think even if you went against the Pharrell and the Neptunes, I think
Yeah.
I think they
Oh
too.
yeah, no doubt.
Mike, if versus would always be Timbaland against the Neptunes. because Timbaland
Right.
mentioned how they kept him on his toes, and I think
Right.
they towards the late 90s and 2000s, both of them, Timbaland and the Neptunes, they sometimes produce the same artist and they still develop hits. But I don't know if I think Puffy and Dre even said the only person he'll do a versus would be against Diddy as well.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
when he called Teddy after he called him, said, yeah, I saw what's going on, it was great. He says Switz has reached out to him, but he's not sure about it and stuff. Um, but then he got discouraged with Teddy's technical stuff, and this was
Mm,
back in the early days where they had to call in. I think the way the stage is now, um, but I do think two people like Dre and Diddy would probably there's a lot of egos when it comes to who are we doing this for?
right.
Who's the industry industry heavyweights, and if you appear on versus, you're almost in a sense appearing on Timberland's stuff, and he's the
Hmm.
big dog there, as compared to having your own sort of thing and somebody coming onto your own thing. So I would think it'll be hard to see either one of them doing it. If I'm being
Yeah.
honest, it's
And
like
Diddy has his own channel too. So
yeah,
I can't remember the name of it.
it Revolt.
Yeah, Revolt.
Yeah,
Yeah. So he
yeah.
probably would want to host something that he can benefit
He
from.
sponsors verses with Chirac. He
Oh,
sponsors
okay.
verses. He's been sponsoring from day one, so he's getting he's getting stuff in there. But yeah, I think Jermaine. Jermaine.
I
No,
feel bad for Jermaine because he has made a significant impact and influence, but he's always looked at as second tier to other producers of the time. He's been doing it from a young age, just like Teddy was, just like from a young age, making beats for national acts and things like that. So it's just I want him to get his moment, but
yeah,
I get it.
I think just thinking of Jermaine, the difference is that now they all lost their labels. Diddy lost, well, he would say he still has Bad Boy Records if he needs to, because he still has French Montana. He still does stuff with Rick Ross, so he's still tied into the industry. I think even DJ Khaled, they're still somewhat tied. He's still tied in with his
Right.
with the label. JD somewhat lost social death and everything, and so he's so those type of things, and he's not been producing. I know he did some stuff with Anthony Hamilton, and he's working on a new Usher album. So there's a way of him using, trying to use the momentum of that to bring out the new stuff for Usher. But I do respect him. I think he and there was nothing wrong with just staying with a group of artists like Mariah and his social
Hmm.
deaf artists and Usher, and saying, I'm going to continually making hits for big hits for these guys. Um, but I think JD against yeah, but he's also had his label. So even Trackmasters and the Neptunes, they can't really boast of having hits for their own artists like
Only artist, yeah.
JD can. So I can imagine if you're saying Social Deaf against Bad Boy, but even then Bad Boy was much a bigger record. But
It
anyway,
was, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's it.
I want one with Trackmasters as well. I think that they are not talked about enough. They're very unsung, and they have a interesting resume. I don't think a lot of people know how many hits they've been involved with. So I would love to see them. I think that would have been a nice little matchup between them and uh, I mean, whether it been Trackmasters versus Jermaine Dupri or Jermaine Dupri versus Diddy or Diddy versus Dre, either way, it would be great entertainment and just would take me back. I would love to just enjoy that that showcase.
Did you see the Teddy and Babyface one?
I did.
Yeah.
I did see that one. I was frustrated a little bit with it, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was really. I think what I really loved is watching everybody in the comment section just how they enjoyed it and they reacted to it. But I was very frustrated with. I want to say Teddy a little bit because I feel like some of the song choices were just not matching up with because he had better songs to play against certain songs, and I think that
Yeah.
could have, just certain song choices would have helped him, you know, at, at least seem evenly matched. What did you think about it?
So I was new to IG by the time Versus came out, so I
Oh,
only
okay.
joined. Well, I'd had an IG account since maybe 2016, but I'd never really just, back in those days, you just post a
Right, me
few
too.
pictures. So I had no idea what IG Live was and anything like that. And I remember during the lockdown just saying, okay, let me go on IG, let's see what's going on. And I started seeing Face and Teddy and and
Hmm.
so I missed the announcement for the first one. So by the time I got on board, it was like, well, the matchup was happening that weekend. So you mind you,
Oh, okay.
here in the UK, it was probably 2 in the morning when it started. So I had to wake
Wow.
up and be awake to watch it. And I know, as I said, Teddy fan from day one, and I remember seeing the first one where he tried to with the band and
Oh,
Brad,
yeah.
and the strange thing
I was
is
hyped for that one though. But go ahead.
the way versus is now is what Teddy was trying to do back then.
Mm,
It's just that they thought, wow,
exactly.
so he actually was thinking ahead. So that's what they're doing now.
Right.
Um, but yeah, when he sat down with Face, he wasn't as prepared as Face. He
Right.
didn't really go through his list. Um, he didn't even have, okay, he's in his own studio, but he didn't have the chords to connect his keyboard.
I think that false start kind of threw him off, though. I just think that, and he kind of showed his hand. Like he was kind of like he had this whole thing where he was going to perform, and I think that's how he wanted to do it, so that when
Yeah,
they
but when he did
finally
this,
got it together.
but when he did the
Go ahead.
second one, Face was there in his studio. He had his guitar, and
He got
Teddy
his
was like,
guitar.
"Oh, I've got my keyboard, but it's not even connected." He was almost so halfway through in
Oh yeah,
Face,
yeah, I
he
remember
was
that.
constantly trying to get his people to bring the thing so he could plug it in, and then he cuts off the stuff so he can connect his keyboard. By the time he got back in, he couldn't connect because you know the IG had gone down because doesn't matter what people talk about the any other verses come through. That one broke the IG. IG had no
Right,
capacity to do more than 500,000 people,
that's true.
but there was over, I think 550 million, 1,000 people who were trying to get on. The IG had
Mm,
never done that before, so it was crashing, and people had to bootleg to watch it. And you had Michelle Obama, you had everybody. So
right,
but that made national news. They were on national news. I mean, no other versus has done that since then. They were on
right.
all the press and everything. But as a Teddy Riley fan, and I've said it so many times, as a fan, I could have listed 20 tracks he plays out there and he wins the
Right,
verses. You
right,
don't go slow jams to slow jams with
right.
Babyface.
You
You
don't. You
you are the
don't.
club guy. You could have put in, okay, he didn't play My Prerogative. He didn't yeah, he didn't play My Prerogative. He didn't play Remember the
That
Time.
was.
Just at the end. I'm like,
But
you
that's why
could
I
have.
say they have so much material for. They both do for a rematch. I think that they would. They should try to amp up. And I think it was a missed opportunity for them to promote whatever they were doing, which I don't think maybe that was a little early and on for a lot of people, so they weren't thinking like that. But so many people were tuned in, that was perfect opportunity for them to promote
No,
something.
but
But
I
I
don't
agree with
think.
you.
Yeah, I don't think Face needed to. I think Face was like, look, I'm enjoying what I'm doing here. I think Teddy maybe
Mm,
could have done stuff. The moment he played Deep,
right.
I fell off myself. I was like, Deep, what? This is the worst
I know.
Backstreet song I've heard, and you're playing that. And then
That is so
I was
funny.
not down with he played. Okay, he wanted to show he was hip with Jay-Z, so I played City Is Mine. a
Uh,
rubbish
uh,
track. It's like, why? Then he
that
plays
wasn't
the
even
yeah, it was Trackmaster's track, and then he did the remix because he had Blackstreet on it. Same thing with the Foxy Brown, "Gotta Get You Home Tonight." It was a Trackmaster's track,
right,
but he did the remix of that with Blackstreet. He did the "Get So Lonely." It was a Jam and Lewis track, but he did a remix because he
right.
featured, and that's when Face says, "Are we doing? Is that your track?" And he says there was a remake and a remix. Oh, we're doing remixes now. So he did the
Wow.
SWV Right Here remix. He did the Foxy Brown
Was
remix. He did the City Is Mine Jay-Z. He did
this
he
sparked
did the
that
remix
controversy with all the producers, right? Who
with
did
Brian. Yeah,
the right
Brian.
here?
Yeah, and I'm just like, I said, you don't need to do remix. Him or Me was a big hit. You can
Right.
bring that out. You
But
know,
you're expressing why I was so frustrated with the song choices. And I feel
uh,
like they still have songs that they can rematch. I think people should try to shoot that to them. But when it's like I feel like you just like you put it best earlier, you don't go slow songs versus Babyface. Play to your strengths. While he's playing
yes,
those sleepy time ballads, you should be playing your club bangers. That's what your that's what I love Teddy for, his bangers. Like so I just feel like it was I mean, I'm happy that he got a chance because they seem like they were having fun. I like that, and I like to see my heroes, you know, being acknowledged by the masses again. Like for so long they were forgotten, but I was just I loved it. I enjoyed it, but I was frustrated. Like you said, when he pulled out deeper or deep, I was just like, wait. All the songs you could play, and you're right. He didn't play My Prerogative, which I was waiting for him to pull that out of his arsenal. It was frustrating to say the least.
so here I am writing.
A
So
song list,
So here I am. Let me do. I've got My Prerogative, Make Me Sweat, Make It Last Forever, Kissing Game,
right?
Him or Me, New Jack Swing. So that's the New Jack Swing, the stuff. No Diggity.
Right.
Remember the Time. Don't Leave Me, the Blackstreet one. Let's Chill. Just Got Paid. Groove Me. He didn't. He could have just done Groove Me. He
Mm.
could have done Eat a.
I don't want to fall in love, James Hout. For those who
Well,
don't remember the
it was a
'80s,
remix.
that was a
It
big
was a
hit though.
remix, but he could have done.
That
He
was a
could have
remix.
done. Yes, Before I Let You
Oh,
Go, which he did. He could have done either Piece of My Love,
mhm.
or Goodbye Love. He could have done either one of
Yep.
those ones. That's almost 20 tracks there, and I haven't even thought about um, something in common or anything like that. It's just 20 quick
I
tracks
mean, he
from.
produced for
He,
Mo D
yeah, he
and
could have
Heavy
done
D,
Wild Wild
right?
West.
Like, there's so many
Okay,
songs.
he did do the Dougie Fresh show, which was
Is it
a
good to
the
you? I mean, well, that wasn't. I don't know if
yeah,
that was number one,
it was
but
he did that, but it wasn't as it wasn't as powerful. Is it
yeah,
good? I
he did Rump Shaker.
Rum
I would
Shaker,
have been totally done with him if he didn't play that.
but he
But
did Shaker. So let me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And now this is just me rushing quickly and trying to I get 16
yeah,
tracks, which
Jam was a
if
big hit. I know, it may not
yeah,
translate to today.
yeah,
It went
no,
to number one. I would I mean, it's not.
I've only
And when
put
you're playing against songs, it wouldn't be something I would play, but
I've only
it's
put
a
one
bragging right.
Michael Jackson song, and that was "Remember the Time."
Remember the time, right?
He could have put down, um, he could have put down, "In the Closet." He did the "In the Closet,"
Yeah, I love that.
which was a big nice hit and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So he didn't need any remix. He didn't need
He
any.
didn't know remix.
No,
And
he's
Babyface got a nice dig when he said that because it kind of made him look like when he's like, "Oh, we're doing remixes now."
we do remixes now. Yeah,
Babyface,
yeah.
I did not know Babyface was so funny, but
Well, the
he
thing is
loves
that you have to remember, Babyface just before lockdown did his Vegas residency, so he had to
right.
talk to the audience and stuff like that. So he's used to being a front man as opposed to, yeah, and so he was sharp, And he said he sat down with L.A. Reid and they went through this. So L.A. Reid is
Right.
he's a chump. So they both went through, and the thing that Teddy made the mistake is that Face plays a slow jam. You just gonna think, oh, I've got a slow jam. The only three slow jams you
No.
can play to face a Face slow jam would be um make it last forever.
Make it last forever.
Um, Eat a goodbye love. Goodbye love. Yes. Um, don't leave the Blackstreet. Don't leave me.
Right.
And then Less Chill. But even Less Chill it's a good track, but it's not
It's a fan favorite. I mean, people love it, but it wasn't like
yeah
chart
it
topic.
but yeah, you don't. It's not when if Face plays any of his slow jams, you don't just put it down there. What they're
Yeah.
afraid of is that if he starts playing slow and you start going high with the club, like a Rum Shaker, No Diggity, you start to do Make You Sweat, Prerogative. You know, any Bobby Brown track Face would have played, he just plays My Prerogative. Anything he Face would play, just do No Diggity.
Right.
In fact, just I said Teddy could have just done his top 10 bangers,
Right.
from
That's
and
what
then Face, it would have just been like, wow, Face would have been like, okay, I'm out of this. I can't win this. First half,
because he
play
does.
10 of
That's the thing, because Babyface, he's not the club banger guy, so
yeah,
he can't fight that with.
yeah,
I mean, you can't put You Mean the World to Me, Tony Braxton up against
yeah, No Diggity or My
No
Prerogative.
Diggity. Like,
Yeah, or
he
Just
wouldn't
Got
have
Paid.
anywhere to go. Just
Yeah,
off the
Just
top,
Got
first
Paid.
songs, up tempo, bangers.
Yeah.
Babyface is lost. So if he had us in his ear, if
Uh,
we are consulting, maybe should have.
if he had done if he had even done Wild Wild West or
Wild Wild West.
I will knock you with a death blow, some Kumo Deep
What's
stuff,
that song?
or Big Daddy Kane. I get the job
I go to
done.
work.
I go to work.
I
Yeah, I
go to
go to work.
work.
That's
Yeah,
my
I love that
yeah.
song.
It starts off with
Yeah.
that, or Big Daddy Kane's I get the job done. People are like, whoa, you did that for Big Daddy, or even Hammer's Pumps and the Bumps. Just playing around.
Right.
Yeah, you
Right.
could.
It's just so
Yeah,
shy. I mean, like I said, I was frustrated. It was just a frustrating situation, especially, I
yeah.
mean, being a Teddy Riley. Well, I was a fan of both, and I was just happy to see both of them. I didn't think it was a proper matchup, though. I wouldn't put them two together. I would have probably put Babyface against maybe
Jam and
Terry
Lewis.
Lewis, Jim
Yeah,
Lewis.
and they would have
But
they would have won. Yeah, I would have put them together.
yeah,
I think Ted. Let me see. But it was always it was always the trifecta in the 90s and in the 80s and 90s, the three of them, because um they were the three. They were always dominating the charts. They all
right,
changed their styles to fit Teddy when he came out
right,
with New Jack Swing in the 80s, late 80s. They're like, well, we need to do that Teddy stuff. And by the time music switched by that 92, I mean, even facing jamming LA and Babyface with the Humping Around, one of the worst songs I've ever
right,
heard. They tried to imitate the Teddy track,
right.
that I think that ruined the Bobby album. The fact that was the lead single, but anyway, but I think Jam and Lewis they moved away because I think Brian, to his credit, he was right. The '90s, the music was different. I think Jodeci
It
played a part
was.
in that as well, but yeah,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, as I said, the Teddy used his IG followers prior to the verses with was about 200,000. After verses, it went up to is now 1 million. So he even admits that his profile
Yeah,
just elevated. The verses just
right.
elevated his profile to people who didn't know him. But
But the
yeah,
question is, who do you? It's hard when you talk about people, when you talk about a Teddy Riley, or Babyface, or Jam and Lewis, because it's like, who do you match up against somebody modern day with? I mean, I feel like Teddy, he was kind of an archetype for all these type of producers that came after him. Same thing with Jam and Lewis and Babyface. Like, they're like little mini Teddy Riley stories. Like, what I mean by that is like little mini me's, like people who came after that. Like, Rodney Jerkins, to me, in my mind, feels like a baby Teddy Riley, the way he kind of came into the industry.
Yeah.
So, and then Neptunes, and everybody's kind of like a branch off of somebody else.
Yeah.
And so for me, I can't think of anybody that you could respectfully kind of put against Teddy Riley or Babyfaces. I don't think anybody's necessarily match what they've done and how they've done it and the influence that they've had. Like, it's unfair to say hit by hit Babyface versus Teddy Riley. They're like, to me, it's apple and oranges because they're two different kind of art producers. It doesn't
And
work.
yeah, and if you were going music, if you were looking at like the types of songs they go after, Babyface against Jam and Lewis, because if he did "I'll Make Love to You," they could do "On Bended Knees." If he brought out a track with Mariah, they can bring out their they can bring out their track. So Jam and Lewis, I think they've got the most number one hits of any songwriter producers and stuff. So they could have gone head to head
And they're a team.
with
Yeah.
Babyface, track for track. Oh, your slow jam, our up tempo.
Our slow. Yeah.
Teddy, if he had just stayed in his lane, so you probably could put Teddy against a Dr. Dre, because if he played a Snoop or if he played a Tupac, then Teddy's bringing his new jack.
Right.
So in a sense, Dre would say, look, because Dre's been around since the 80s with NWA. I'm not talking about World Class Wrecking Crew, but NWA sort of stuff. So he could say, yeah, the longevity and the types of monster hits. So Teddy could have said, okay, he could have done something like that, because New Jack and that kind of hip hop, and Teddy did the hip hop before he did New Jack, so he could have gone both sides.
Right.
So in a way, if you wanted to be respectful on a high hip, you could have done Teddy against Dre, and then Jam and Lewis against Babyface. But you couldn't do Teddy against Neptunes, Diddy, Pharrell, Timbaland, Devante and stuff, because their hits, Teddy would say, I had stuff in the 80s, I had stuff in the 90s, I had stuff in the 2000s, and I created, I don't know how many people could say they've created a genre of music.
Right.
That everyone had to, like, how do we get into this New Jack stuff? And he was doing hip hop and R&B at the same time. He was just giving away his beats. So
right. And that's when it wasn't even popular to do that. Like, you were just either known a hip hop producer or known as an R&B producer. And he was doing both.
I mean, Marley Marl too, but he just didn't.
Yeah, he's another one. He's another one that doesn't get a lot of mention.
Not a lot of things. Yeah. Anyway, that's
all right. Well, we can go on all day about that. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I've been dying to talk about that Verzuz battle.
It's the
that's one for the record books.
It is one. I was so annoyed, but anyway.
There needs to be a rematch. So Teddy, if you're watching, which I know you might be, let's think about a rematch there. We can hire us. We can kind of consult with you with the list, because you got some bangers you didn't show.
Yeah.
So yeah.